the manufacturer, they're like, we have never, ever seen a product like this before that was so easy, so simple, so dense, and so much of it coming out. It's a huge one for Hawaii.
Welcome to Richard Ha's vlog, which looks at what we can do today to make Hawaii Island a more sustainable place to live so our children and grandchildren and their grandchildren won't be priced out of here and will be able to stay in Hawaii and live good lives here. I am Leslie Lang. You probably know Richard Ha. And our guest today is Alexey Katko. Welcome, Alexi.
Oh, hello.
Before we get started, I have to say, I didn't realize until today, when I was doing a little bit of online research, that you two recorded a StoryCorps episode together at Hawaii Public Radio. And I think that is so neat. I just listened to it and I loved it. So Alexi, tell us about yourself. What's your story?
My story is I moved here in 2019. Ever since I was really young, I had this very clear thought, 3 places I need to live here on Earth: Hawaii, Japan, and Ireland. And so I reached out to somebody I knew here, which is how Richard and I met through a mutual friend. And when I came here, I just started working on farms, coffee, chocolate, vanilla farms, and learned how much stuff we grow and don't end up using. That's the world I'm in, is what I call how to utilize our stranded farm produce. It was always working with small amounts of product that we'd throw away in the coffee and chocolate world, and there's just nothing quite that you can build a business around. And then when I learned about our purple potatoes, of how much we throw away because it just doesn't look pretty. It's perfectly fine on the inside, a little ugly on the outside. And when I realized how many millions of pounds we throw away a year, that's when my days on the farm started coming back, and it's like, Alexi, learn how to honor the land, and here's your opportunity.
They're everywhere. Look at these potatoes. Perfectly great potatoes to be able to make something out of. And if you look really close, you'll see a lot of potatoes everywhere.
When he mentions sweet potato, it is true that there's so much left in the ground. So when Alexi started to talk about it, that immediately got my attention, because different ways of looking at things, different way from the normal approach to things. And so Alexi has a unique way of looking at it, and not only just unique way of looking at it, but he has the ability to put the pieces together so that it could work.
The reason I got into purple potatoes, talk about the universe coming together. Richard invited me to a lunch with another gentleman named Richard, who's the farmer, and Richard Ha was just like, hey, come on over. I'm eating this purple potato farmer. The day before that, somebody asked me at a cafe, Alexi, what is your least favorite color? And I said, purple. The very next day, Richard introduces me to the farmer, and from there, the purple potato world opened up to me.
That's ironic.
Yes, it was like life was just leaving these breadcrumbs, just go with it. After that initial meeting, I just started reading study after study, that every study I could find literally on planet Earth that was ever done on any kind of purple potatoes. When people go to the beach to have a chill time, I would sit and read studies. So after a few years of that and just trying a lot of different products, just nothing was quite working that you can make at scale, not at 50,000 pounds a week. And then eventually I started noticing similarities between all the studies that I read. And all of them kept on saying something about this instant mashed potato flakes, something I never knew about. This was towards the end of last year. I just started researching, can it be done with potatoes? And then I learned why nobody's been doing it with potatoes, because companies with deeper pockets than mine have tried and failed.
No one was doing it with sweet potatoes specifically?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because...
In a nutshell, sweet potatoes are more like a banana than it is a potato. At the structural level of the produce, machines might look the same, but how they're designed and how they work are very different. By the grace of God or the gods or whatever it is you want to believe, it all came together where I was actually able to get a sample end of last year, an actual small-scale sample. And just recently, I was able to do a proof of concept to be able to make it at larger scales.
And where does that number come from, 50,000 pounds of sweet potatoes a week being wasted or not utilized?
The gentleman who Richard connected me with, the farmer, he's the one of the 2 companies that can export potatoes from Hawaii. One on Oahu is a company and one here. And so he's got his feelers and connections here at the farm level. And so he's the one that gave me these numbers and who I rely on.
So that's referring to this island. There's probably about 50,000 pounds a week.
Yes, that's at the very least. Sometimes it can go up to 100,000 pounds a week. Sometimes farmers can have a property. Sometimes 10% of it can be grade B. Sometimes it could be 90%. I just had a farmer send me a picture of a container load that he had to throw away because it was rejected as grade B.
And so grade B being it doesn't look nice enough to sell, but the product
only thing,
is fine.
It's just not smooth, not the perfect shape, just not perfect looking.
I see sweet potato in the ground left over all the time. Most of my acres are leased to sweet potato farm. And just in the matter of how they operate, the equipment they have, and because the economics have to work. So going through that process, there's a whole bunch of sweet potato left in the ground. I don't know, I'm just guessing 30% maybe. And then the result of that is the guinea grass grows up because it's seeds that's left in the ground. It grows up and covers everything. So you don't know what's there because you cannot see it anymore. But in there is pig food. So that's where the pigs are. They come, they walk down the road, they run back in, they eat the sweet potato, and they're all over the place. So it's fascinating to see what's taking place. And if there's a solution to that,
Right.
then it comes all the way back to how do we make ourselves self-sufficient here in Hawaii. And the main consideration is, we talk about energy as being important, and we think of energy in terms of fossil fuels. Fossil fuels allows us to do work which is based on GDP. But when you get down to the basics, food is the most important form of energy. Without food, you can't do anything. All the way back to the sweet potatoes left in the ground. It could be food. We're out here in the middle of the Pacific. We don't have to bring it in. We have it here. And Alexi has this idea of how to use it. But what I really like about him is he's persistent. And two, he's technically, his brain works in a way that it has to work. The numbers got to work.
Alexi, how did you go about getting a sample made of these flakes, and what did you find from them?
When I finally was able to track down a company that was willing to make me a sample, first they told me, hey, it's going to cost you $50,000. I was like, well, that's a solid no-go. The same company reached back out to me again, like, well, we can do it for less and we can do it for $20,000. I kind of thought about it. I'm like, it's going to take me a year to save up at least. So give me a year, guys. They're like, okay, sounds good. Give us a call back. Not long after that, they reach out to me again. They're like, we're really interested about this purple potato. We have an opening. If you send us 5 pounds, we're just going to run it through, see how it goes. I was like, what? And so I called my farmer friend. I was like, can you send him a box of 30 pounds? He's like, sure. So we send it out to them. A week later, they send me a video of the flakes. I was like, it's possible. That company's specialty is making recipes. So they do food testing. I asked them, how does it taste? They're like, we don't know. We have about a quarter pound left, but we don't have any fresh potatoes left. And I was like, can you guys ship it to me so I can taste it? And they're like, sure. And so that's how I got my first small sample at the end of December. It was the best gift I could have ever got for those 2 years. And I just couldn't believe my mind.
That's an amazing story. I mean, that shows you that they're interested, right? That there's interest out there.
I came home at night and my Hanai mom was like, hey, you got a package. I was over the moon. I was like, I couldn't believe it that it's there, that it's possible. It's purple. It's beautiful. So I'm like, what does it taste like? So we made it. If 10 is fresh mashed potatoes, I tasted it. I was like, okay, it's about a 7, 8. It's as close as you could possibly hope for a product like this. And then I just gave out a lot of samples to all ages, locals here, non-locals, and just seeing how people are responding to it. And it was a very great response. I was ecstatic.
That's great. Richard, did you try?
Yeah, I just tried it, so I brought on 3 samples plus the flakes. The Okinawa sweet potato has a special taste. If you can take that taste and end up in the flakes, now that's something special. And so Alexi showed me 3 different samples. I kept it for June, for her to taste it, but I couldn't help myself. I ate them all. Sorry.
They were prepared 3 different ways, prepared as mashed potatoes in 3 different.
Yeah, and Alexi, you can describe how the different ones were done.
Yeah, so I have the original, which is just the flakes. So those are really nice to just eat as a snack. Initially, I was thinking people can make it back into mashed potatoes, but people don't make them into mashed potatoes. They eat it dry. It's almost like a soft granola. My biggest thing of why I wanted to make it into flakes is shelf-stable product, and it can be made at scale. But that really is what's called an ingredient product, because the real opportunity, and they say it's hard to come around opportunities here in Hawaii. Well, this is a huge opportunity where bakers, cooks can now take the flake and create their own recipes of dry mixed powders. What Richard tasted, what he's referring to, tastes very similar to a hummus. It's like the consistency of a hummus. It's purple, and it's like macadamia nut, purple potato hummus.
That sounds great.
Yeah, I gave him a bag of flakes, but also the hummus dip, and there was a few different versions of it. Because when you buy it in a bag, you mix it with water one way, you get one product. If you take it and you grind it in, say, a smoothie machine, you get another product. And if you add a little less water, you get a third product.
Wow, this is exciting.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's purple. I mean, come on, who doesn't like purple, right?
You don't like purple.
The main thing is it tastes good. That's my whole thing. Yeah, the purple sweet potato just tastes good.
So one of the things I do have to mention about taste is what's interesting about working with this product, and it's something that I'll be developing over the years as the company grows. Depending on how I boil and cool it, and then when I dry it at what temperatures, you're going to end up with different products and how the product tastes. So the current one that I have is a great ingredient product, whereas other versions, and it's not about additives, it's just how you process it will create something better to do as a mashed potato versus an ingredient product. This week I've been working on a purple potato brownie instant mix. So that's the cool thing, it's a very dynamic potato. So now everything that we've been leaving out in the fields, it's all of a sudden trash to treasure kind of story.
This is super interesting. And Richard, it sort of fits right into what you're doing with the Modern Day Ahupua'a.
Yeah, it's a perfect fit. Exactly. So in the back of my mind, there's his approach to it has always been a fit. And until I tasted it and talked to him, we had a good sit down and discuss all the different ways, the machinery, the scale, and stuff like that. I'm feeling like, holy smoke, this is a perfect fit for the Modern Day Ahupua'a.
Right, because it's another income stream. It's one of several income streams that a farmer could have, right?
Yeah, and it's food that we produce here that we're not using as food.
Yeah, that's amazing. So would the idea, Alexi, be to bring in the machinery here so you could process it here?
Yes, to create a whole factory for this, you'd need about 30 different machines, and only one machine has to be specialized for this potato or for sweet produce. The potato is considered a sweet produce. I thought it's going to take me 5 years, 2 to 5 years to find this one because it's very, very expensive. Brand new, it's $1.3 million. By calling companies day after day after day, I was able to find a company all the way in Buffalo, New York, who specializes in working with sweet produce. And they were decommissioning their machine and buying a bigger one. And let's just say, yet again, the story develops where I'll be able to get this machine and something that I could actually afford to be able to get here, that super specialized machine, and then all the other stuff. To make that machine, we'll need 7 more machines. But the hardest part has been already figured out. Just, I can't even take credit for it. It's like the universe is like, here you go. Just show up and do your best.
Wow, it's really falling into place, it sounds like.
Yes, little by little it is.
Yeah.
There is going to be needing a lot of investment into it to make it happen. But seeing how things have been working till now, I'm like, well, it looks like the universe got this one. I just have to keep on, start a business, start accounts. There's been a lot of interest in the product itself. Currently, it's going to be the most expensive as it's going to get because we'll have to ship it to Buffalo. They produce the flakes and then we bring it back. And it's still at a very doable price doing that. But once we bring it in-house here in Hilo and we have it here on the Hamakua Coast somewhere, this weekend I'm meeting with a couple different companies to find out, okay, who can I partner with? This person, that person, somebody has a building and it's getting out there. But there is definitely interest in the world of the schools have a 30-20-30 goal where you have to use 30% of local produce by 2030. The government has the same thing for all the other state facilities, 50 by 2050. And federal level, they've just allowed the sweet purple potato to be a substitute for wheat. So there's a lot happening. I've been getting quite some calls, and it's just exciting how people are like, hey, I heard you're doing this. What you think about this? Like somebody just called me from a shipping company, a local shipping company. They're like, hey, our chef who cooks for the staff there, they heard about the product and they're interested in at least trying it. Like, how do they get access to it? Private schools, public schools. So there's a lot going on, and interest is just about getting it out at the price that people actually. In the beginning, it's going to be as expensive as it's going to get, and then it's going to get lower and lower so that we can actually get it out into the hands of people here.
There's an aspect to what he's doing that what we're trying to do is encourage younger people to farm. And the problem younger people have is they cannot afford the land. The land is too expensive. So we're looking at a way of leasing land. It has to work for other landowners, not only me. Because if it only works for me, there's no point. If it works for everybody, then now we're talking something serious. Let's assume we can get multiple income streams for these young farmers that are starting off, because it'll give them more resiliency. And talking about purple sweet potato, we're not talking about planting it in the ground for them, the new young farmers, because people are doing it at scale already. Yeah. So what happened if, as an added income stream, you did a good gutter system and you had them plant only so much, and it won't take very much time, that your kids could go take care of it. But if Alexi has something like that going, they wouldn't care what grade they had, any grade, as long as the price is economical, then it's an income stream. So that's the added thing that I'm watching to see how this develops, because I can see this being part of the modern day Ahupua'a.
What are the next steps, Alexi? What point are you at now and what happens next?
It's everything all at once. Exciting, to put it that way. The overall is to set up a factory, version 1.0. By that, I mean there's about 7 machines to just get the machine running. And that will be able to process up to 50,000 pounds of potatoes a week. So we'll be able to at least hit the grade B market first and just make sure that that gets taken care of. Then it's getting the resources, the financial resources, which is going to cost almost closer to about $2 million. It sounds like a lot, but that's to get version 1.0 set up. But I believe that this is extremely necessary for us. There's a real reason to be able to do this. As a state, to provide our own food, at least a base food, a staple food, is very critical. And so getting money is the biggest thing, is finding the resources. And it's not just finding money, it's finding the right money, the right people to work with. Every day, every other day, I'm meeting with somebody and just like seeing, okay, who are people into the food world? Who's excited about the food world? If you just want to put money in just to get a ROI, thank you, but no thank you. But if you're somebody who's wanting to solidify our food system here, let's sit down and talk. Every day for now, there's somebody that I'm meeting with. It's either a chef, a cook, another farmer, a retailer, a store, and just everything just coming together like that. I don't believe Hawaii has a staple food product right now that is our starch food product, something we already grow at scale that we can scale, and that now we have the capacity to take and store for not just 3 weeks of the lifespan of the potato, but now well into a year. Right now, like for example, I'm getting the shelf life study done, getting the nutritional study done, getting all these other studies done.
Do you have a name for your flakes?
Right now, it's just the generic purple potato flake. On my sample packages, as I'm giving out, I call it purple gold because it's in a little golden bag. Over the coming months, as this flake starts coming in the flake form, people actually have an opportunity to create value-add products that will be able to actually make a living off of.
The reason I support Alexey is because what he has inside of him. He's not trying to come up with this great idea and export it outside of the state. He actually wants to make it work for the people that live here.
That's a great point. That's everything that you're all about, Richard, is let's do this for our people and our island.
We're at a time and place called today, and there is no time like right now. 18 years ago, there was a gentleman in the food industry who wanted to create a factory to make these flakes. And here we are 18 years later trying to figure out an answer for the same question that somebody wanted to do long ago. Now, they could have done it. The only difference is now it's 100 times more expensive to build and to create. And so for everybody out there that is thinking to create, to build, to make something, brace yourself. Yes, even if it's expensive and you're not going to know 99% of the things you're going to need to know to achieve building something, creating a better world here, do not let that stop you. Just keep on going with it. Keep on going for it. Whatever you do, keep on keeping on, as I like the phrase, Coco. It's like when life tries to knock you out, you double down and you keep on keeping on.
1,000 reasons why no can. We're looking for the one reason why can. That's what he's looking for.
Sounds like he's finding them.
Yeah.
Thanks for appearing with us today, and congratulations. What an amazing thing. It sounds wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Everyone out there, thank you for watching. We will be back in 2 weeks with another episode of Richard's vlog. Mahalo for watching, and ahui ho.